The sun hung low over the dusty plains, painting the horizon in streaks of orange and crimson. Daniel Hart, known across 3 counties as the most relentless bounty hunter west of the Mississippi, rode with the calm precision of a man who had seen too much to be fazed by anything. His black hat cast a shadow over his steely eyes, and the spurs on his boots jingled softly as he adjusted the reins of his horse Shadow. Word had come in from the sheriff of Red Rock Creek. A fugitive named Cole Branson had been sighted near Willow Ridge, a town known more for its saloons than law and order. Cole had a long list of crimes, from train robberies to cattle rustling, and Daniel had a personal stake. He never missed a bounty. But this time, Daniel felt something he hadn't in years. A twinge of doubt. Something about the name Emily kept gnawing at the back of his mind. Emily, the daughter of a late rancher, had been a bright light in his past, a woman, with eyes as clear as a mountain stream, and a laugh that could melt the hardest of hearts. But their paths had diverged years ago, leaving only memories and the lingering ache of what could have been. Daniel had thought he left that chapter behind, until now. His horse's hooves kicked up clouds of dust as he reached the edge of Willow Ridge. The town was quiet, eerily so, as if holding its breath. Daniel dismounted and slipped his revolver from its holster, fingers brushing the worn leather with practiced ease. He moved through the streets like a shadow, scanning every doorway and window for signs of movement. At the far end of the main street, a flicker of motion caught his eye. A figure darted across the alley, careful, deliberate. Daniel's pulse quickened it from fear, but anticipation. He recognized the gait immediately. Cole Branson. But then, there was another figure, smaller and lighter, moving alongside him. Her presence unsettled Daniel in a way he hadn't expected. Emily. The sight of her made his heart skip. Yet his instincts screamed caution. She didn't look afraid. Not really. There was a determination in her step, a quiet courage that Daniel remembered well. But why was she here, following the notorious Cole Branson? That question burned hotter than the afternoon sun. Daniel stayed in the shadows, keeping pace silently. He watched as Cole and Emily approached the abandoned mill on the edge of town. Cole's hand rested protectively on Emily's shoulder, and Daniel realized with a jolt that the criminal wasn't leading her into danger. He was shielding her from it, protecting her. Daniel's jaw tightened. He had come to capture Cole, bring him in for the bounty, but now a different challenge emerged. Emily's safety, and with it, a surge of feelings Daniel had buried for too long. Conflicted between duty and desire, he crouched behind a pile of old crates, weighing his options. A soft breeze carried the scent of sagebrush and distant smoke, and Daniel's thoughts raced. Could he confront Cole without endangering Emily? Or would he have to choose between the law and the woman who once held his heart? As the sun dipped below the ridge, casting long shadows across the town, Daniel realized one thing. This hunt would test more than his skill with a gun. It would test his heart, and for the first time in years, he wasn't sure which path to follow. Tomorrow, he would make his move. Tonight, he would watch. And somewhere deep inside, a hope, he thought, long dead, stirred awake. Dawn crept over Willow Ridge like a thief, spilling pale light across the dusty streets and waking the town with soft, golden rays. Daniel Hart stayed hidden in the shadow of a weathered water tower, the cool morning air brushing against his face. The previous night's sighting of Emily with Cole Branson replayed in his mind like a relentless echo. He couldn't ignore it. He had to know why she was there, why she had put herself in danger. Cole had always been clever, slippery as a rattlesnake. Daniel knew that a direct confrontation, without careful planning, would be suicide. But Daniel also knew one thing about Emily. She would never willingly walk into harm's way. Someone was protecting her, and it seemed that someone was the very criminal Daniel had sworn to bring in. Shadow pawed the ground beneath him, sensing Daniel's tension. With a practiced motion, Daniel mounted and followed the trail, Cole and Emily had left, careful not to alert the town's few early risers. The tracks led to the old Miller farm, an abandoned homestead on the outskirts of Willow Ridge. Broken fences and sun-bleached barns gave the place an eerie silence. But Daniel could hear faint voices carried on the morning breeze. He dismounted, moving cautiously toward the barn, keeping to the shadows. Peering through a crack in the weathered wood, he saw them. Cole sat on a crate, rifle across his knees, and Emily stood nearby, surveying the horizon. The expression on her face was one Daniel knew too well: alert, determined, unafraid. Cole's voice was low, gruff. "They'll be back soon. You shouldn't have come here alone." Emily's voice, soft but firm, reached Daniel's ears. "I had to know. I can't just sit back while people assume the worst about you." Daniel's heart clenched. He had expected fear or pleading, but Emily's words carried trust, faith in someone he had been hunting like prey. Cole's eyes flicked toward her, protective, almost tender. "It's dangerous. If anyone finds out you're here, I can't let them hurt you." Daniel's jaw tightened. The lines between right and wrong blurred before him. He had been trained to capture, to bring criminals to justice. But here was a man who had committed countless crimes, yet in this moment acted like a guardian. And Daniel couldn't deny the swell of emotions he felt at seeing Emily safe. He stepped closer, deliberately letting a branch snap underfoot. Cole's head shot up, and Emily's eyes widened in shock. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice a mixture of surprise and something deeper, something Daniel couldn't name yet. "Stay calm," Daniel called, raising his hand slightly, gun still holstered. "I'm not here to hurt you, Emily." His gaze hardened as he turned toward Cole. "Cole Branson, you're coming with me." Cole laughed bitterly, a sound without humor. "You think it's that simple. You have no idea why I'm here, why I'm protecting her." Daniel's heart pounded as he studied the man. Every instinct told him Cole was dangerous, yet he could see the truth in his eyes. Cole wasn't just a criminal. He was a man with a cause, and that cause involved Emily. Emily stepped forward, placing a hand on Cole's arm. "Daniel, please, don't shoot. He's the only reason I'm safe. You don't understand." Daniel froze. Her words cut deeper than any bullet ever could. She trusted him, but she trusted Cole more. And Daniel had a choice: enforce the law or honor the feelings that had never truly left his heart. The morning wind carried dust through the barn, swirling around the three of them. Daniel clenched his jaw, realizing that this encounter would set the stage for a battle, not just of bullets, but of hearts. The hunt had become personal, and the first move would define everything. The day had barely warmed the plains when Daniel Hart found himself circling the abandoned Miller farm like a hawk. His mind was a storm of conflicting thoughts. Cole Branson wasn't just a criminal. He was Emily's protector, and Daniel's code as a bounty hunter demanded he capture Cole. But his heart screamed a different truth. Emily moved like a shadow across the barn's threshold, her eyes searching Daniel's with a mixture of hope and fear. She didn't want him to confront Cole, yet she couldn't hide from the reality that Daniel had arrived. Daniel could see it in her posture. She was torn, just as he was. "Daniel, you don't understand," Emily said softly, stepping closer to him. "He's not the man everyone says he is. He saved me from Pruffant, from people who wanted to harm me. He's not just running from the law, he's running to protect me." Daniel's eyes flicked toward Cole, who stood in the shadows, tense but resolute. Cole's expression was unreadable, a mix of defiance and caution. The man had always been a ghost in the law's eyes, yet now he was tangible, human, and dangerous in a way Daniel hadn't anticipated. "Emily, I have a duty," Daniel replied, his voice tight. "I can't just let him walk away." But he paused, swallowing the lump in his throat. "But I can't let anything happen to you either." Emily's gaze softened, and for a moment Daniel felt the old ache of longing return, sharper than ever. He remembered nights spent under starlit skies, dreaming of a life where the world outside didn't demand everything from him. She had been the one light in all the darkness, and now she was here, standing between him and the man he was supposed to bring in. Cole broke the tension, his voice low and dangerous. "You want to take me in, Hart? You think you can just ride in here and enforce the law without consequences?" Daniel's hand hovered over his revolver, but he didn't draw. Not yet. He needed to understand Cole's plan, and more importantly, he needed to keep Emily safe. "I'm giving you one chance," Daniel said, his eyes locked on Cole's. "Leave now. Turn yourself in willingly, and no one gets hurt." Cole's laugh was dry, almost bitter. "Turn myself in, and leave her exposed. You don't understand. She's why I do what I do. I've spent my life running, hiding, fighting. But for her, I'll face anything." Emily's hand touched Daniel's arm, firm but trembling. "Daniel, please, don't force him into a corner. You don't know what he'll do." Daniel's mind raced. He had tracked men through deserts, faced outlaws twice his size, and survived ambushes that would have killed lesser men. But nothing had prepared him for this. Nothing could prepare him for a choice between duty and love. His heart ached at the thought of leaving Emily in danger, yet his honor demanded he uphold the law. A sudden movement caught his eye, a shadow emerging from the nearby tree line. Bandits, drawn by the reputation of Cole Branson, were closing in on the farm. Daniel's instincts snapped into action. "Emily, get down," he shouted. Cole moved like a coiled spring, pulling Emily behind him as bullets tore through the air. Daniel rolled behind cover, returning fire with precision, born of years of practice. The barn became a chaos of dust, shouted warnings, and gunfire. Yet even amidst the danger, Daniel's heart was focused on Emily, on keeping her safe. By the time the smoke settled, 2 of the attackers lay incapacitated, and the rest had fled. Cole, Emily, and Daniel stood panting, the tension between them palpable. Daniel's gaze met Emily's. "Are you all right?" he asked, voice rough. She nodded, relief flooding her features. "Thanks to both of you." For the first time, Daniel realized that this wasn't just about capturing a criminal. It was about trust, courage, and the unexpected ways the heart can defy the rules of the law. The aftermath of the firefight left the Miller farm quiet, save for the wind whispering through the broken fences. Daniel Hart wiped the sweat and dust from his brow, eyes scanning for any lingering threats. His revolver hung loosely at his side, but his mind was elsewhere, on Emily, on Cole, and the impossible choice that weighed on his shoulders. Emily sat on an overturned crate, her hands still trembling slightly. "Are you sure everyone's gone?" she asked, voice tinged with worry. Daniel nodded, though he didn't take his eyes off Cole. The man's protective stance hadn't wavered once. Every movement, every glance, screamed vigilance. "Emily," Daniel began, kneeling beside her, "you don't understand what you're asking of me. I've tracked men like Cole for years. My duty is to bring him in." But he paused, swallowing hard. "But you're here, and if anything happened to you..." Emily placed a hand over his, stopping him mid-sentence. "Daniel, I trust him. I trust both of you. And I trust you to see the truth." Her eyes were earnest, unwavering. Daniel felt that old ache return, that longing he had buried under years of solitude and lawless plains. Cole shifted, breaking the moment. "Hart, you can't keep running your black-and-white justice here. Not today. Not with her life on the line. You want me? You'll have to prove it, but hurting her." "That's not happening." His tone was firm, unwavering, and Daniel realized something vital. Cole's convictions weren't empty, they were real, born from loyalty and courage. The silence stretched, as Daniel processed everything. He had faced outlaws, thieves, and killers, but never someone like Cole, a criminal with a code, a protector with a heart. Daniel's jaw tightened. He could feel the weight of the law pressing against his conscience. but the pull of his heart was stronger. Emily's voice broke through his thoughts. Daniel, if you go after him now, it won't end well. You'll regret it, and so will he. Let me help you see that. Her hand rested gently on his arm, and for a moment the world narrowed down to the three of them, standing among dust and broken wood. Daniel exhaled slowly. I can't just walk away. Not completely, but maybe. There's another way. He looked at Cole, then back at Emily. We need to get you out of here safely. All of you. No more running into traps. No more surprises. You protect her, and I'll cover our tracks, make sure no one follows. Cole studied him carefully, weighing every word. Then, with a slow nod, he said, Fine. But one wrong move, Hart, and this ends badly for everyone. The plan came together quickly. Daniel guided Emily to a hidden path behind the barn, out of sight of prying eyes. Cole shadowed them, alert for any threat, while Daniel scouted the perimeter, making sure the town remained oblivious to their movements. As they paused near a small stream, Emily turned to Daniel. You're risking everything for us. Daniel looked away, hiding the flicker of emotion in his eyes. Maybe I am, but some things, some people, are worth the risk. Emily smiled softly, the kind of smile that could thaw even the coldest heart. Then maybe this isn't just about a bounty or the law. Maybe it's about what's right for the heart. Cole gave a low, appreciative grunt, a rare smile touching his features. You're not as cold as they say, Hart. Daniel chuckled quietly, tension easing just slightly. Maybe not. Not today. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the plains, Daniel realized something profound. Justice wasn't always about the law. Sometimes it was about protecting the people who mattered, even if it meant bending the rules. And as Emily's hand brushed his, Daniel knew that whatever came next, their lives had changed forever. Night had fallen over Willow Ridge, the sky a blanket of stars, stretching endlessly across the plains. Daniel Hart crouched behind a rock outcropping, listening to the soft rustle of leaves and the distant howl of a coyote. Emily walked quietly beside Cole, trusting him completely, while Daniel's eyes never left the shadows that could hide danger. The plan had worked so far. Cole and Emily were safe, and Daniel had managed to keep the townsfolk and bounty hunters oblivious to their escape. But deep down, Daniel knew the hardest part was still ahead, confronting his own heart. He had spent years chasing outlaws, believing justice was the only thing that mattered. But tonight, under the endless sky, he realized there were things far more important than the law. Trust, loyalty, and love. Cole stopped near a small creek, crouching to inspect the ground. We're close to the ridge, he said quietly. From there, you'll be safe to move on, Emily. Nobody will follow. Emily turned to Daniel, her eyes filled with gratitude, and something else. Something Daniel hadn't dared to hope for. Affection. Thank you, she whispered, for everything. For trusting him, for trusting me. For seeing what matters. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He wanted to tell her so many things, to admit the truth he'd hidden for so long, that he had never stopped caring, that his heart had always belonged to her. But he swallowed the words. Tonight was about safety, not declarations. Cole looked at Daniel with a wary respect. Hart, you could have taken me down, could have done your duty, and ended this right here. But you didn't. Daniel shook his head, a faint smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Some things are bigger than duty. Some things are worth bending the rules for. Emily stepped closer to Daniel, taking his hand in hers. Then maybe this isn't the end, she said softly. Maybe it's the beginning of something better. For the first time in years, Daniel felt a sense of peace. He had come to Willow Ridge, hunting a criminal, expecting only danger and the satisfaction of a bounty collected. Instead, he found something far more precious: trust, courage, and the quiet possibility of love renewed. Cole gave a final nod, Go on. You've earned your moment. He stepped back, fading into the shadows like the outlaw he was, leaving Daniel and Emily alone. Daniel looked at Emily, his heart racing. You're really okay with this? She smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. I've never been more sure of anything. They walked together toward the ridge, the moonlight casting their shadows long across the open plains. Every step felt lighter, freer, as if the weight of years of solitude and danger had finally lifted. Daniel knew the law still existed, that Cole's life was far from over, but for tonight, that didn't matter. Tonight, they had each other, and that was enough. The night air was crisp, carrying the scent of sagebrush and the distant prairie. Daniel glanced at Emily, and she met his gaze with a soft, reassuring smile. The past, with all its regrets and lost opportunities, finally felt like it had a purpose. As they reached the top of the ridge, the town below twinkling faintly, Daniel squeezed her hand gently. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Emily nodded, and for the first time in years, Daniel allowed himself to believe in something beyond the law. He allowed himself to believe in hope, in trust, and in love. And under the vast, endless sky, with stars above and the prairie stretching endlessly before them, Daniel realized that sometimes the hardest chase wasn't after a criminal, it was after your own heart. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Western stories.